Hey explorers, today we're going to be making a small portable fire kit. You're going to need the following things if you want to make one just like this. You're going to need a small jar, some jute twine or other natural twine, beeswax twine, which is just cotton coated in beeswax, strike anywhere matches, and a small stick-like thing to wrap the twine around it. This had honey in it, and the shape of the jar actually gave me the idea to make this for Casey, because it's so small that this would be really tough to break in your pack, especially if you put it in with a pair of socks or something, and you could fit a lot of fire making materials in here for extended time out in the field. And just thought it would be a fun little present to give her, so let's get started here. This jute twine is really awesome because it's in this compact form right now, but if we cut off a little piece here, it's made of hundreds of these little tiny pieces, and you just keep ripping and ripping and ripping, and then this is going to be excellent fire starting material. But it is so compact that you could fit a ton of this in that little jar. Look at that. That's just perfect for fires. So this beeswax, once the cotton is coated in the beeswax, if you were to light this, it actually burns like a candle wick or a very slow fuse, and that's really good, especially if it's kind of wet out. Using this after using a match will give you much more time to actually light the fire. So I think we'll start out by cutting off some of this. So let's get a little bit out. I got this off of somebody on eBay, beekeeper who makes this themselves. Pretty inexpensive. It's waxy, and it sticks to itself, so that's why I wanted to use this little piece of wood right here. So we're just going to start by putting a downward angle on that, wrapping that around the edge there, and then starting to loop this around. But before we get down too far, I want to cut this to make sure that it actually fits inside the jar. I don't know if that'll fit just straight up like that. It might. No, we need to cut a little tiny bit off. This is the back of one of those recyclable pens, this part of it. It's should just be balsa wood, and that's a good thing to use because you can actually even burn this if you need to. So anything in here is designed to be part of the fire kit. So we're just gonna cut off the bottom of part of this real quick. Put a little dent in there, and then snaps right off. So then we'll just wrap this real quick. Okay, and that's plenty, so that'll be our first ingredient here. I don't know exactly how I want to get everything settled in this jar at the end, so we'll get there when we get there. Next is the jute twine. We're going to want to put in a bunch of this stuff too. And the great thing is that this stuff is all really cheap, so you can just refill this every time you come back from camping. And you know what? I actually think I want to use the back of another pen for this. I'll use the one that I showed you earlier. So we're just gonna wiggle this out and then cut off the bottom again. I know it doesn't really look like much right there, but that will really help this stay on there. And this jute twine won't stick to itself, unlike the beeswax, so this is a good step to make sure that it doesn't get all tangled as soon as you let go. So you just wrap the first go around inside of those two little slits that we just cut, and then we're just going to wrap it. Okay, and there's our miniature jute twine spool. And again, if you're going to use this for a fire, you just rip off part of it and you just pull it apart with your fingers. Another thing I've seen people do with this is actually bring sandpaper with them. I don't think that's necessary for this kit though. And these matches are pretty cool. They're sustainably sourced. This is bamboo, actually, and the sulfur and other chemicals on the head of this match are environmentally friendly. So no matter where you go, you will have a reduced footprint when you use these matches. And because of that white tip on top there, you can see that these are actually strike anywhere matches. So all you need to find is a rock or something similar to that texture and you'll be able to light these. But I think these are probably, they're a little bit too big here to fit in our jar. So we're gonna have to cut these too. And we're actually gonna be able to fit a lot more than I thought in here. So I'm gonna take this out and put some more beeswax on there before we do the matches. Okay, and how to do these matches, I'm not really sure, so I think we're just gonna go for it. We'll cut whatever this is, I guess a centimeter off. Great. Wish there was a better way to do this. Maybe we'll try pliers. Yeah, that gave us a little bit cleaner of a bottom, less splinters to worry about in there, so we're gonna do that. I really love this beeswax stuff. That's probably my favorite out of this whole kit here because we use a rope lighter, which is a piece of cotton and flint, and that actually the only fuel that you need is the rope that's already in there. We'll do a video on how that works eventually. We did an unboxing a while ago if you were able to see that, but it's kind of hard to get an actual flame from that when you're building a fire. So I've started using this beeswax twine with the rope lighter, and that lets you get a flame much easier, and it helps you build a fire for longer than the rope lighter does. These pieces are really just flying everywhere. Wow, yeah, we can fit a lot more matches in there, so I think we're gonna go ahead and actually fill this whole thing up. That looks really cool from the other side. It'll look even cooler when it's all the way full though, and without that terrible glare that you just saw. So I'm gonna fill this up real quick. Perfect. So now you'll be able to pull the bottom twine out. I've pulled the top part out of it. So if you just need the jute twine, you'll be able to roll that out. And if you do need the beeswax twine, you can just pull that right out and the matches are accessible. So for the last part of this, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get a little piece of sandpaper and glue it to the inside of the lid here. And that way, if you're not near rocks or anything, you'll still be able to light these matches even though they are strike anywhere. So go into my little $10 Michael's carving kit here. We'll rip off a little tiny piece of sandpaper. It's not exactly pretty, but it's effective. And we'll just get some Elmer's glue and rip off this corner so it fits a little bit better. Very, very small amount. And you want to make sure to get the edges here because when you're using the matches it might pull this off. And you don't want to use too coarse of a grit of sandpaper for this because then you might just rip the head off the match. So there, that's glued on there now. It still needs to dry, but for the sake of the video, we'll just put it on real quick. There you go. You've got a sustainable fire kit, cheap, effective, and very, very sustainable. I think this is probably the most sustainable ingredients that you could get unless you grow your own sustainably, which would be very difficult, particularly with the matches. Everything else would be pretty easy. Overall, if you were to buy everything in bulk, because you can't just buy 10 matches. You can't just buy, you know, the 10 feet of jute twine and beeswax that we used. It probably cost under $20 still, and you have an abundance of materials to make about 1 billion of these for other people. The jar is, you know, unique, so you're gonna have to find your own container for this if you want to make a similar project, but it's cheap, sustainable, and very effective. So I hope you guys liked the video, and check out some of our other crafting videos. I just made a pretty cool spoon, which I have right here. I made this out of a piece of driftwood. It was super fun to do, and it only took like 2 hours. So go check that out if you guys haven't seen that yet. If you'd like to see more of our content, be sure to subscribe so that you get updated when it comes out. And if you like this video, please click that like button down there and leave a comment about what you thought. Thank you guys for watching. Stay sustainable, plastic is evil, and we'll see you next time.